How is it going, guys? I am in the Philippines now, but not too far back from being in Thailand. Was over there for about a week or so. I guess, let's see here, 5 nights and 6 days. And so I'd been to Thailand, I guess about 10, 12 years ago, but this is my first trip back. First time I went there, I was at a working conference. So I really only got to see a little bit of Thailand, and it was really great to be back this time and kind of check things out. So in today's video, what I want to do is bring my buddy Marco Till in. Marco has a channel as well. I'll make sure and have him share that later. And Marco was also on some channels, or also on a video on my channel not too far back. So make sure and check that out if you haven't seen Marco already. But Marco's a great guy from the US and also traveled around the world quite a bit. So I've got to meet him here in the Philippines. And then he also went over to Thailand for longer than I did. I think he was over there about a month and a half. I'll have to ask him again, but will be good to get his feedback on what he thought as well. So if you guys have been over to Thailand or you've been to Philippines, would love to hear your guys' experience as well. If you're here, have any questions, make sure and ask us as well. But let me bring on Marco now. Mr. Marco, Sir Marco, how are you, buddy?
Hey, I am doing good. I'm rocking the Dragon Energy straight from Thailand.
Very nice. Very, very nice. Now, how long were you over there for?
First, you got to guess the name of my dragon.
Puff?
No. Oh, God.
Magic?
You just dated yourself. Think Mulan. Think Mulan.
Oh, gosh. I don't remember the name of the dragon in that movie.
Well, you can either call him Eddie for Eddie Murphy or Mushu. Mushu!
Okay, I'm going with Mushu.
Which is kind of a little Jewish, by the way. So I'm just saying.
Okay.
All right.
Mushu. I don't know. It sounds like Mushu pork, or what's that kind of pork called?
I think that's where they were headed. Yes.
Very good. Very good. So I was just telling everybody that you are from the US, but we spent some time when you were hanging out in Philippines. How long were you in the Philippines for?
A little over 4 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you'd spent time over here before as well, right? In the Philippines?
Correct. In 2019, before the great pandemic.
Yes. So what was your experience here in the Philippines, kind of pre-pandemic, post-pandemic?
Well, obviously the pandemic has had a tremendous effect on, just how people operate. And I feel like it really left a residual dark cloud kind of over everything. And the Philippines was just, as you well know, economically devastated by the pandemic. And you and I both have so many dear friends, and we just, we're hearing the stories and crazy lockdowns, and I can't work, or I can't fish, I can't feed my family. So I think there's a certain level of trauma. And of course, this is, if we go into deep sociology, trauma upon trauma upon trauma for a lot of people in Southeast Asia, including Thailand. So I would say that, it's just a little more reserved in the Philippines after the pandemic compared to when I was there in 2019.
Yeah, very interesting to hear. So I started coming here in 2019 as well. I was here 3 times in 2019, then moved here January 2020, just perfectly in time for the pandemic. And so I was living here throughout all of that. And so really to this day, I've had more time here, during the pandemic than outside of the pandemic. And definitely I observed the same thing as you said, just people really struggling with how are we going to get food, how are we going to get, pay the bills, all those different things during the pandemic. The odd thing though, as an employer here, is you would think that people were really happy to work and all of those things, but it's far harder to recruit for people. A lot of businesses will have people that will say, thank you for this job. It's really going to help me provide, for my family, and then not show up for the first day or not make it to the second day. And that's not just us, it's very widespread here. So a little bit confusing as an expat in the Philippines these days, just why more, people aren't more hungry to work, especially after the pandemic. So I think there's a lot of shifts that went on during this time as well. And we're going to, be talking about Thailand as well shortly. But any sense for you, a feel for Thailanders and what it was like for them during the pandemic?
I definitely don't have my finger on that pulse when that was going on. I had a few friends from my visits in 2019, and I think I had been there 3 times in 2019, and they seemed to handle it better. Meaning, whatever type of economic forces were going on in Thailand, I just did not get. Let's say for you and me, maybe the barometer is how many requests do you and I get? Like, hey, desperate, can I get a loan? Can I get this? And
Sure.
I think I got one from Thailand versus I got many from the Philippines.
Sure.
Now that might be also some statistics in that I just know more people in the Philippines
Mhm.
than I did in Thailand, and I think this would be the overall economic observations, and I know you've said this, is that Thailand just is definitely a notch above the Philippines in terms of quality of life, and modernity of where they are versus
Mhm.
where most Filipinos are.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Same here. I definitely know a lot more people in the Philippines and did my best to help out who I could over here. But I think that the Philippines is much more of a dependent society. And so that happens a lot. There's a lot of OFWs, Filipinos working overseas that are there not because they want to be there, but just because they want to send back money to their family. There is a lot of Filipino immigrants living permanently in other countries that are sending money back to families here. So I just don't see that culture in Thailand. And so I think that asking is something that's really a lot more part of the Philippines. But I do know that, especially businesses that were dependent on tourists, really suffered, really were devastated in Thailand during the pandemic as well. My dad lives over there in Thailand. His wife's Thai, and she had a thriving business for over a decade in Pattaya, just selling food and drinks, stuff like that. And, just with no tourists there, the business had been around for more than a decade, just died. And, now that she's trying to get it back, just rents have increased exponentially there. And so that, I think there's definitely big challenges in Thailand as well. They just look a little bit different because of how different the cultures are over there.
Yeah, I would add that in 2019, one of my episodes was on Phuket
Mhm.
and Kata Beach and a company called Phuket Dive Tours.
Mhm.
And the gentleman who owned that, who was married to a Thai woman, had a Thai family, but he was from the UK. And back then, even though he kind of complained about being so busy and such, but his business was thriving.
Mhm.
And I met with him just recently when I was over here. We did another little episode on one of the dives, and he said, "Wow, he barely made it through as a business." And he said many of his friends who own dive shops, they were done.
Sure.
They couldn't survive. So yes, I would echo exactly that, and that kind of brings us to tourism and how the
Mhm.
two countries handle and market tourism.
Mhm.
Uh, because and it would be interesting to have maybe a list of actual facts of what percentage of the two countries depend on tourism as part of their economy, because I would guess that Thailand's is bigger
Mhm.
percentage wise than the Philippines.
Yeah, I'd be curious. I really have no idea on that. I definitely think places like Phuket or Pattaya, Bangkok, of course, have large amounts of tourists there. When I was in Pattaya, I felt like there was at least as many foreigners as locals, and probably more
Yes.
foreigners than locals. So I know a lot of people go there. Uh, and so that's the other thing. I think where you go in Thailand is really going to shape how you think of it. Going to Pattaya versus Bangkok versus I was in a place called Satahip, which is really growing. A lot of tracts of homes and things like that there, but just very quiet. Pattaya, I have a feeling that, the guys that go there are there for a thing or two, and it's just kind of party town. And then, Bangkok is just quite an incredible city. I would love to go to Phuket, where you were. Where were you all when you were there during this last trip?
Let's see, three places. One being the Laguna area, and that's where the travel conference was that I attended. And then 1 week in Kamala Beach, which was a little further south. And then a little bit further south, Kata Beach is where I spent my last week. So total of 3 weeks there.
Okay, so pretty tropical beach kind of areas most of the time you were there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And
Okay.
Phuket, it's really hard. The whole island feels tropical, and the island isn't very wide. So,
Mhm.
you're either on the east coast or the west coast of the island. And yeah, there's a reason, why they turned that into a tourist paradise, because it has all the quintessential pieces of a tropical paradise, these gorgeous beaches
Mhm.
and such. But you can also, in Phuket, go from Patong, which is a little like Pattaya. I mean, it
Right.
really feels like Crazy City. Still has a nice beach, but then you go further south, somewhere like Kata, somewhere towards the south of the island, and you can get very remote and feel like you've got your own beach type thing. So it really becomes down to a choice of a tourist where they want to go.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's jump into some different topics. We both spent some time in both countries. I've been in Thailand a couple of times. I've lived over here in the Philippines for a few years now. I know you traveled over here a couple of times and spent quite a few months as well. So maybe big picture, what is your perspective on the difference between and I know this is very big picture, but people in Thailand versus Philippines. What are your thoughts on that?
I would say that Thai people in general are going to be a little more on the serious side, a little more taking care of business. They're friendly
Mhm.
and such. There's almost like this in the Philippines. There's almost a childlike quality to most of the people you meet. And when I say that, of course, if I go to IT Park and I start hanging around with managers, this might not be as true.
Mhm.
But generally, there is much more of a playful energy in the Philippines. And we've talked about, how they handle even tragedies and such. And
Mhm.
there's constant laughter, constant smiles, especially in front of foreigners. But in Thailand, people they're nice, but man, they're there to take care of business, whatever that business is.
Sure.
And so, as you described the Philippines as having a dependent quality, I'd even call it a codependent quality. I would say people in Thailand much more independent as a
Sure.
rule.
Yes. Yeah. I agree. So for me, I find that Filipinos for me are definitely more friendly. And I'm not saying that Thai people aren't friendly, but I still hold that I've never been to any country where I found people more friendly, kind, respectful as the Philippines. I mean, we had Thai people with us, and there was one situation where we were trying to buy some shirts to bring back for employees, and my wife was, kind of talking to one of the vendors, getting some shirts, and there's a couple of Thai people that were with us, and we needed to get a certain size of shirt for the employees. And so we, took some time saying, okay, we're going to get these, and then gave the money, and then found out they didn't have the sizes for one of them. So we had to ask money back for the shirt, and may or may not have been cussed out a little bit inside for the vendor. I understand they lost, a one shirt sale there, didn't make them thrilled, but those type of things would just never really happen in the Philippines for me. I just find Filipinos are really patient, and they take disappointment really well. And so I find Thai people are a little bit more Western like that, where if something bothers them, they're going to vocalize it. They're not, Filipinos are very shy. I didn't find Thai people shy at all. And so there's some things that, that have two sides for them, that are good and that are, not always so good with things is well. That said, even though I find Filipinos so friendly, I find Thai people easier to talk to. So even though Filipinos on the whole have much, much, much better English communication skills than Thai, at least the, places where I was, they're also not afraid to talk to you. Whereas I find Filipinos, even though they have great English and should be really confident talking to foreigners in English, they're more insecure about their English and slower to do that. So that was an interesting difference as well. And so I loved with Thai people that you could ask them anything, and at least they would try to answer you, even if it was hard for them. I had to break out Google Translate a couple of times. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I did. I did the same thing. I hadn't used Google Translate, in 5 months, and boom, I had it out to do a couple communications. But I would say how many times have you and I heard the exact words or texts from somebody in the Philippines that says, and especially from the women, I'm shy. I'm shy.
Yeah,
I'm shy. Which translates a little bit differently the way they use it. Sometimes they mean they're embarrassed, but they use that word all the time. And exactly in Thai, no, they don't. No, they're not shy in terms of whatever the business is of the day. They move right into it to the best of their ability. And if you need Google Translate, you do it.
Yes. So I think a bit more initiative with Thai people. They're definitely going to make things happen. And I really enjoyed the people in Thailand, and I really enjoy the people in the Philippines. So I think that if I knew just a little bit of Thai, it would be a lot easier to really get to know people. So living in the Philippines for 3 years and being able to speak in English hasn't necessarily mean that it's easy to get to know locals here. It still takes a bit of effort, especially to go beyond, kind of this, deep of really connecting with people here. Whereas people that I know that live in Thailand who are expats really feel like they have Thai friends, and they're able to really get to know people on a much deeper level after living there for a little while.
Yeah, it's an interesting observation, because even as I think of the geography, and that as you move from south, which Philippines is, about as far south as you get in Southeast Asia, and then you move north, there is this geographic effect, I think, that changes, as you get closer to China, right? Yeah. And China would be that other end of the spectrum that we're talking about. It is interesting, the geo factor, and even the weather factor of how that affects people.
For sure. So what about in terms of, tourists, coming to visit both places? If, say, for example, there is, someone out there, they never traveled to Southeast Asia, where do you think you tell them to go? Philippines or Thailand?
I guess I would, I'd first question, them about what type of tourist are you, right?
Sure.
Or, are you the Ritz-Carlton tourist? Is that what you need to kind of be happy? Then I would definitely send them to Thailand. because
Mhm.
there's plenty of 5-star resorts that you can. As a matter of fact, I'm helping edit a little vlog on Club Med right there in
Mhm.
Phuket, and you never have to leave the castle walls, and
Right.
they'll provide everything. They'll still give you the Thai experience, but
Mm.
you are so protected.
Right.
So if that's the type of tourist, I'd say go to Thailand. You're still going to have all the cultural influence, the temples, etc. If you're a little more adventurous, a little more, I want to get down with the people,
Mm.
then I would say go to the Philippines. You're also going to be more comfortable if English is your base language.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's what I was thinking as well. That if it was somebody's first time coming to Southeast Asia, and especially if it was their first time leaving their country, somewhere like the Philippines, in terms of communication, would be so much easier. In Thailand, getting around on the buses and stuff like that, you have to really look sometimes for the English. There's a lot of Thai, whereas in the Philippines, everything's in English. So it makes it a lot easier. And I think that the people feel immediately welcoming in the Philippines. But if you're looking for a bit of adventure and definitely comfort and great food, some other things I want to talk about, Thailand's just an incredible place as well. So Philippines, I think for newbies, is a little bit easier just because of the language part of it. But if you're not concerned with that, Thailand is an amazing option as well. So, what about food between the two countries? Where did you like more?
Uh, okay, so I have to uh, do my confession and say
Mm,
I am not a foodie.
okay.
Um, I have people tell me on my channel all the time, do more food, because every once in a while I'll say, oh, here, look what I'm eating. I'm eating this naan bread in Dhaka, Bangladesh. But it's not my wheelhouse. So
Mm,
for me, the Southeast Asian platter, it's something I always enjoy, whatever I'm eating.
sure.
So as you even say that, I'm like, okay, comparisons. Thai food, there's some Thai dishes that are incredibly spicy. I
Mhm.
like spicy, and rarely do I get a dish that I think, okay, this is too spicy. But a couple of times in Thailand, I've gotten that,
Yes. Yes.
and rarely in the Philippines. So that would be, my admission. And then, but I would definitely defer to you and your sophisticated palate.
Actually, I'm a really boring and picky eater, so I'm not the best one for that. But sorry, Philippines, I just love the food in Thailand. I think it's incredible. There, like you could actually Google things like Michelin star food cart tour in Bangkok and stuff
Oh,
like
wow.
that. And there's literally food carts that are Michelin stars in Thailand. Last I've checked, I haven't seen too many of those in the last 3 years in the Philippines. But I think it's really just incredible. And, we went to Chinatown in Bangkok, amazing food there. We went to, Arabic food places. We went to Indian food places. And just, of course, everyday Thai food. I mean, for a much lower cost than the Philippines, you could get very high quality food off the side of the street. For me, I just found the food was really incredible, very high quality in Thailand. And I think for me, it's a little bit different being a vegetarian. I have pretty close to zero options with Filipino food. But in Thailand, it's just, really easy. I think part of that is, Buddhist culture over there.
Yeah.
There's a lot more vegetarian dishes and things like that. But I really already missed the food in Thailand, and I just got home a couple days ago.
Yeah, I would definitely echo that. In either one, it's the Buddhist factor. People in Thai, actual Thai people, some of them are vegetarians or vegan.
Mhm.
However, the paying attention to the tourism dollar, they know there are people like you that are
Sure.
coming over. And as a matter of fact, there was a new shop just in Kamala that was opening up that was this vegetarian vegan paradise.
Mhm.
Now the and again in Phuket, since it's so tourist, I did not see. You were talking about how cheap the food was. That was
Mhm.
not true in Phuket.
Oh,
Everywhere I went. Oh
okay.
yeah, I was paying close to Western, dollars for most food I was having,
Huh?
unless it was a total, mom and pop cart type situation.
Sure.
But yeah, it was more expensive. But they definitely everywhere, almost everywhere I went in terms of a restaurant, they had it very well advertised. Hey, we've got vegan, vegetarian options.
Sure, sure. In the places where I was, I would say, you could get lunch or dinner for between $1 and $5 US, and mostly around $3 to $3.50, in US dollars, something like that, for really high quality, good portion meals in the places where I was. So even in Bangkok, even in some of the beautiful malls that they have there. So that's the other thing in the Philippines. I think people here think it's really the mall capital of the world, but I just couldn't believe the high end malls in Thailand.
Oh yeah.
And so Mall of Asia is just huge in Manila, but there's a mall bigger than that in Thailand, and I was really amazed by the quality of things that you could get there for a lower price. So Grace got an iPad over in Thailand, and it was about I'm trying to translate about $500 less by the time you got the VAT, tax rebate, leaving the airport. Like really significant difference, cheaper compared to the Philippines for electronics and things like that as well. So I'm guessing we're both not shoppers over there, but it seems like you got your sporty shirt on there. How much did that cost you?
Oh gosh, how much did this cost me? It was a good. Well, I would say in the U.S. this quality of shirt, you'd probably pay. God, if you went into Banana Republic or something, you'd be paying $50.
Yeah.
So I got this, I think, for 15,
Okay.
which I thought was at kind of high, but.
Yes. Yes.
But I'm always about, hey, let's support mom and pop here, and she was a mom and pop person, and had actually a great conversation with her. I don't know if you saw those posts of the pink boxing trunks I was looking at. Yeah, I was having fun with that. I didn't buy them. I was just thinking about maybe that was a second career, geriatric Thai boxing. I don't know.
There you go. There you go. Oh, I did see
But
that. I did see that. Yeah.
But yeah, I would agree on the malls. Did you go to Icon Siam along?
I didn't, but that's definitely the huge one over there. Uh,
Yeah,
yes, we went to Central World, some others that were stunning, and then it was really amazing with all of the travel. Like you could just hop on the train stations from the malls. Very, smart urban planning there when it came to, the public transportation, which was really cheap and fast and clean. I think in Phuket it's a little bit different though. Like I heard there's a lot of traffic congestion and even car accidents and things like that in Phuket lately. What was your experience of travel there?
that is true. However, the first thing I noticed getting out of the airport and on my way to the hotel is that traffic is moving fast, or the transportation, whether you're in a taxi, everything's moving faster than the
Mm.
Philippines. The
Oh yeah,
Philippines is that's where I get on my bike and I always move faster in traffic. So
your
uh,
your pedal bike. We should be clear.
my pedal bike.
You're not talking about a motorcycle or scooter. You're talking about
No,
yes,
yes. Yeah,
yeah.
so you're definitely right. Just infrastructure is just set up to just have more of a free flow. And Phuket does have, during rush hour, has some pretty bad congestion. And right now, one of the main crossover roads on the island was washed out, so that's created even more. But yeah, when you get to Bangkok, you have freeways, yeah, or tollways, whatever we call them all over the U.S., where
Mhm.
you can jump on and move fairly quickly. Now, of course, that's all outside of the rush hour, which I guess in any metropolitan city, you're going to have some. But I would agree with you when it comes to public transit, especially when I was in Bangkok. Yeah, you can get anywhere pretty decently.
Yes. So, we were traveling pretty much from Sattahip to Pattaya to Bangkok. That's hundreds of kilometers of distance between those places, and on the freeways we were doing 100 to 120 kilometers an hour. That's moving pretty quick. In the Philippines, you're really lucky if you would ever
Yeah,
get up to 80 kilometers
right.
once in a year
Yes.
for 5 seconds. So the infrastructure is just wildly better in Thailand when it comes to roads. That's just something in the Philippines you're just not going to move very quick. And when you said that you get around faster on your bike, that wasn't an exaggeration. You
No,
mostly, for
not a
sure.
bit.
Yes.
Not a bit.
So that's really something. But even things like, they have, the three-wheel, kind of motorcycle with the side carts in the Philippines, those maybe go 20, 30 kilometers an hour. You hop on a tuk-tuk and, you feel like you're in a Lamborghini in comparison. They really move and they're just so fast. And, at least in Cebu where I am, if there's a train system, I've never heard of it. And the train system in Thailand's just incredible, especially moving people around in Bangkok and stuff like that. So that's hard to come back to, just very slow moving. I drove about, I don't know, maybe 2-3 kilometers. Where I live and where my office is over here. How many kilometers do you think that is? Two or three, something
Oh,
like
yeah.
that. Not
Yeah.
long. And probably took me 30 minutes on a Saturday morning. So something's really wrong with that. And I find that there's so much construction of high-rise buildings in Thailand and the Philippines. So definitely a lot of positive growth in both countries. But the difference is that in the Philippines, I only see high rises growing. I never see road construction where they're widening roads, adding roads, and I saw a ton of that in Thailand. They're really working on not just building more buildings that are going to bring more traffic, but adding more, wider highways and things like that that are going to help, keep traffic moving. So it's just really impressed with infrastructure in Thailand.
Yeah, there definitely is a difference if you take the three countries, you and I, United States, Philippines, Thailand. In the United States, when they do any type of construction project, they have a massive pre-plan. Here's how we're going to divert traffic. We're going to do work in the middle of the night. We're going to avoid, you're rarely inconvenienced because of the construction.
Right.
In Thailand, then it's a step down and you're going to be inconvenienced, but usually they are thinking about, okay, how are we going to do bypass? How are we going to keep traffic moving? In the Philippines, it's that just kind of stare at you and say, well, figure it out. You got to do a workaround and drive around the island to get where you need to get now, because we need to do, even coming up the road to your place, they've been doing that big pipe. Oh my gosh, that at times is death-defying how skinny that is.
Yes.
And the motorbikes and
going uphill and downhill where it is on top of it.
And if you're on a motorbike, on the back of it, getting the moto taxi or whatever, and then they have the ridges, so the bikes can fall into these.
Yeah. And the thing is so you've been gone about 6 weeks, and that construction, which is not a big construction project, is still ongoing where I live. And so they'll start construction projects here, and then they'll just sit there for 2 weeks while everybody deals with the traffic, and then they'll start it up. So listen, I love the Philippines. I know I sound like I'm really complaining a lot.
I know. We're not beating up on the Philippines.
Yes. I live here very intentionally and happily. However, when you compare some of these things, it's just really a very night and day difference. Just see Texas Tim and my buddy Javier on. Thank you guys for stopping by. But what about another topic? I'm the married guy in the room here, but for you young eligible bachelors, what is the difference for you with dating in both countries?
What was that word you used before eligible? Well, it started with a Y. Young, yes.
Yes.
Young and vibrant.
I missed that one. Sorry about
that. Yeah. Well, I at this point, and again, admission, confession, I'm a little confused, a little frustrated with the process I'm in. And I don't think I would characterize myself as typical when it comes to I'm a foreigner. I'm looking for a girlfriend, wife. So that might be part of it. But and again, comparing Thailand to Philippines, you got English. And for at least me, that's critical. That's critical to have that communication. I see some of my fellow foreigners and they're just fine finding this ravishing beauty, and they don't need conversation, they don't need deeper communication, so it works for them. And I'm again not disparaging that, but for me it's important. So the Philippines, there's just more options. In the Thailand, even some of the eligible young women that I met or talked to, they're always, as a matter of fact, I can say this, and I was in Phuket where you would find higher level English because of the tourism piece. I did not find one that had like what you and I would call fluent. We really can. There was always gaps going on. I may not be pulling out Google Translate. So that's the first one that is big. However, here comes the however or the but, whichever you want. I prefer the however.
I prefer the
but. So, however, the independent nature of a Thai woman compared to a Philippine woman, and again, this is a general, because I met some independent Filipinas, but they're few and far between in the general population as compared with the Thai women I met. They were all about, I don't need you to take care of me. I just don't need, here's what my life is. Here's how, and, I'm sure if we got together, then finances blend and maybe there's an ease in their economic life, but they are far more independent, which that part is refreshing for at least me.
Sure. Yeah. Interesting. I think that a lot of it is motivation, so I got to question some of the guys, especially going to Thailand, are they really going for a relationship or are they going for something else? It's just very different there. There's a lot more on offer, in Thailand, should I say. And so it's just really a different culture compared to the Philippines. And I think people in the Philippines are really serious, looking for someone to be in a relationship with yesterday. And so I think people rush things here a lot in Philippine culture. So I think for a lot of Westerners, they come over here and maybe they want to get to know somebody over time and truly get to know them. And I think in the culture here in the Philippines, from the moment you start talking to somebody, there's some type of expectation. So just, culturally, and I'm speaking generally, this doesn't go for, everybody here, but it's just a really different culture when it comes to those things. I think in Thailand, it's at least a little bit more like Western countries in terms of getting to know each other and different things like that as well. But I would say that for all of the things that I wish was a little bit different here in the Philippines, we talked about infrastructure and food as examples. The communication difference is really a deciding factor for me and why I'm here. That said, I really be tempted to live in Thailand, at some time because I just loved it so much there. But the Philippines is really incredible as one of the very few places in Southeast Asia where everybody, for the most part, speaks English and you can communicate with. And that definitely, with dating, getting to know somebody, if you can't speak the same language fairly well, that's going to at least, take a lot more time to get to know somebody. And there's already so many cultural differences. I think especially for Western guys, seeking to date people in places like Philippines and Thailand, the cultures are just so different. So if you add the language factor on top of that, I think there's going to be a lot of misunderstandings, a lot of miscommunications, and it's going to take a lot longer to truly get to know, somebody in Thailand if they don't have, pretty decent English, or if you don't speak Thai, which, I do have a friend over there, from Ireland that speaks really amazing Thai, but I think that's the exception, not the rule. So, any success out there in Thailand? After meeting people, do you think there's anybody that you would stay in touch with, or just too difficult to communicate?
I would say, well, number one, and I shared with you, I had met one woman, and she was a professional and on the production team of the TBEX conference, and boy, I was enamored, independent, and all the things. And let me tell you, she found something incredibly resistible in me, and and there was a certain part of that for me that was refreshing. Like,
Sure.
okay, here's somebody, who's not just throwing herself at me, is looking at all the factors just like I am. And so definitely you're going to run into that more in Thailand as you meet more professional, more educated women here. So that was interesting. I do want to go back because you touched on this whole notion of morality, especially around sex. And in Thailand, and it's a liberal Buddhism. Okay, if you go to Bhutan, you'll see a little bit more what I would call fundamentalist Buddhism. I mean, they embrace it, and there is a morality code embedded in their society. So you're not going to find brothels and prostitutes. But in Thailand, with that liberal approach, they are much more upfront about and don't have a problem as much with what sex is going to be or not be, whether it's in a dating situation, whether this is how I'm working as a sex worker. And, and the government even steps up and helps protect the women, making sure they're healthy, make sure they get checkups, So and in the Philippines, we've talked about this kind of dichotomy of this morality, whether it's, embedded within the Catholic Church and such. But yeah, there is a big difference and a little more, I'm going to use the word shame within the Philippine culture. And me being a former Catholic, knowing, exactly know where that comes from, how that, comes down within a society, within a family, within an individual.
Sure. So it's interesting. I'm not sure I see as much shame here in the Philippines, centered around, things like sex. For sure, if somebody was selling themselves, which is just very common in parts of Thailand, yes, I think in the Philippines there would probably be more shame around that, where it just seems kind of normal part of everyday life in Thailand for a segment of the population. But I do find definitely, as you mentioned, we've talked about before, in the Philippines, it's kind of superficial conservatism, where on the outside, and this is just my foreigner, perception of it. So disclaimer. But I think that's in the Philippines, it's conservative on the outside, but pretty liberal, open, adventurous on the inside. So, from my perspective, it's really not conservative at all in the Philippines. It's just kind of the wrapping, and once you open that up, I think people are really diverse and embracing of different, and whatever people want. So even things like prevalence of ladyboys in Thailand and Philippines, it's just not a big deal in both cultures. It would be
Right.
a far bigger deal in our own culture.
Oh yeah.
So that's the other thing is I think that in US and a lot of Western cultures, we feel that we're not conservative, but I think that people accept so much in the Philippines and Thailand both, where these things just really aren't a big deal. A lot goes. There's a lot of teenage and very young pregnancy in the Philippines that isn't happening in too conservative of a culture. So yeah, very interesting. I think both cultures, for me, how it looks on the outside is maybe a little bit different, but on the inside, I think both are pretty permissive types of cultures.
Yeah, I think I would go back and if I am generally going
Mm.
to start dating a woman
Hmm.
in the Philippines and in Thailand,
Hmm.
generally, again, disclaimer, is that the Philip it will the I'm trying to say this so politically correct. The
You already
Philippine
put out the
woman,
disclaimer. That means you can say anything, right?
the Philippine woman would be quicker to be in bed than the Thai woman in a general sense of dating. And again, about, taking the same level of education, professionalism, that yes. And so that's what I think that echoes what you're saying in terms of that underlying permissiveness that does exist in the
Wait,
Philippines.
wait, sorry, just a moment, Marco. Note to viewers, the views of Marco Till are not necessarily of John Smulo and this channel. Oh, okay, please go ahead. Just kidding.
Okay. Yeah, if we end up in Filipino prison, I get the bottom bunk. Okay, no
Okay,
way.
all right, no problem, buddy. No problem. So Danny Dubose is here. Good to see you, Danny. I think Danny is going to be moving over here soon. Let me know in the comments, Danny. But what about another topic, crime or safety? How do you feel in both countries? Do you feel safer more in one than the other?
Well, I felt incredibly safe in Phuket. Bangkok, just because it's a bigger city, I definitely would be a little more on guard. So I would say I feel safer in Cebu than I do in Bangkok. I feel really safe in Cebu.
Mhm.
Now, maybe it's I've been there a while, I was there 4 or 5 months, so but I just felt very comfortable. And there was only a few times, and that would have been late at night, that I might have my radar up a little bit higher.
Mhm.
But I've never been the victim of some kind of direct interaction crime. And I
Mhm.
know once that happens, and I have travel friends, et cetera, they've had that happen wherever and once that happens, oh my, it just
You
changes
feel different.
it
Yeah,
really does. What about
sure.
you?
For me, I've been in small, sleepy areas in both countries and big cities in both areas. I didn't have any problems or ever feel in danger once, in either country. So I feel very safe. That said, I know that there is danger in both places. I just think it's a little more unseen, especially in the Philippines. I feel like I've never even one time felt remotely not safe here. But living here, I know bad stuff does happen. But compared to living in the U.S., I felt in danger a million times in the U.S. But I feel that you feel a vibe, or you could just kind of have a sense with some people in the US that you're around, that this could go bad in a hurry. I've had Google Maps, take me, to the wrong area a couple of times in the US where I thought, man, it's been a good life. I don't think I'm going to make it out of here.
Right.
And I've never felt like that in the Philippines or Thailand. I think both countries, you just got to make sure you're treating people with respect and not being a jerk. So I think who you are as an expat or tourist in these countries does make a difference as well. But stories I've heard, with, even Thai police, with foreigners just really acting like fools. And, I've heard the police have been really patient with them and things like that. I imagine if there was a foreigner in the US and they were acting a fool, man, police would have them turn around up against the car, hands in your air, and
Oh yeah.
guns drawn. And so, honestly, I think that in comparison, at least to the US, these are pretty safe places to be. If you look at crime statistics, yes, bad things do happen, of course. But, for me, both countries, I would say I felt equally safe. And even in Bangkok, there was just so many people around, and there's just such a good vibe. And I don't know, maybe I'm just naive, but talking to foreigners I know that have lived there for a long time, they say they'll have their phone out. They'll never worry about pickpockets or pockets or someone stealing stuff in Thailand. People would tell me when I first moved to the Philippines, hey, don't carry your phone out in public and stuff like that. People might just grab it. But I think things have increasingly got more safe in the Philippines, even over the years that I've been here. So
Yeah, and that whole thing, and I heard that also 3 years ago. Don't pull your phone out in public. They're not. Are you kidding? Everybody, we can't even exist without having that phone in our hand, especially if we're lost. We're on Google Maps.
yeah.
So that's just gonna. And I think the fact that everybody has a phone now, that is less prevalent. When I went to India and Kolkata, they
Mhm.
said be very careful on the subway, that things can happen because it's so crowded and such, and
Sure.
secure your stuff. But and I would go back to what you said about not being safe in a lot of places in the US.
Mhm.
And you or I in downtown Baltimore, or Watts, areas where
Mhm.
we are a foreigner
Mhm.
coming in there, and we have no power, zero power, perceived power at that moment.
Sure.
And the one thing we do have here is no matter where we walk, and again, we've talked about this many times, we have this imbued power of I'm a foreigner, I'm white, I've quote got money, and that power, that just affects almost every interaction I have in Southeast Asia. And of course, if I run into the petty criminal, if I run into, God forbid, a serious criminal, I won't have that. But that, again, that is so. The statistics, it's going to be very small. And even in all the travelers I've talked with, I've met maybe one or two, and I've met hundreds and hundreds that shared a story of, oh my gosh, I was robbed last night. But
Mhm.
most of the time, it's the foreigner's fault, in my opinion. Like, one is, oh, I was out at 3:30 coming out of a bar. I was completely drunk. And well, yeah, you're just kind of you're asking for trouble almost anywhere in those circumstances. But that imbued power that we bring as a foreigner, that definitely, if it's not false security, I think it really is something that people, there's deference. There's deference to it.
Yes, yes. So I can't speak, I haven't been in Thailand long enough to speak to these things, but in the Philippines, there's times where I feel like Filipinos treat foreigners almost better than Filipinos.
Yes.
And I wish it wasn't that way, so, but there is really a difference to foreigners over here. The only rare exceptions I see is if a foreigner is just really belligerent. It's kind of
Right.
common, sadly, over here. But that's the kind of thing that I think is going to bring out the worst in people here. Never witnessed even one time anything bad. But if I'm going to hear any stories, it's mostly the foreigner was just really being very aggressive, and Filipinos are not aggressive. So I think they don't know how to kind of cope with that. So, it could change the situation,
Right.
over here. In Thailand, I just wasn't there long enough to speak to those types of things, but everybody seems super friendly. Even in, areas where there's just a lot of drunk people and everything else, things just seem like they stayed pretty peaceful.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would agree. That was my experience in Phuket, and the same typical variety of foreigners and expats. In Phuket, most of it was tourists,
Mhm.
so there wasn't a big expat scene that I saw.
Sure.
Whereas in Cebu, any of the socials, the local restaurants that are expat bars, you're going to find that variety of expat, and some of them, as we've talked, can get pretty condescending, and even some of the tourists. I would say this, that in Phuket, one of the huge pieces of their tourism is Russia right now. So,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, the Russians were everywhere.
Pattaya too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and as I talked with the Thai people about, well, so what's been that experience? Russians kind of maybe not as bad a reputation as the Chinese, but that they definitely are going to flock to me as an American. They know that I'm just generally going to be nicer, more generous, kinder, more respectful than what they experience with the general, Russian feel, which, the Russian, it's all about cultural energy. And, I remember there's been lots of skits about, Russians being so serious. Well, there is truth to that. Russians, they just carry this serious energy and kind of a look on their face that says, don't mess with me.
Sure, sure. But also, I think that your kind of vibe or demeanor is a bit different than a lot of American guys that go to these places as well. You're super friendly. You're genuinely looking to meet people. So I think, yes, yes. Disclaimer, disclaimer. So I think that part of it is just why people are in a country. Who they are. A lot of those type of things matter a lot is as well. So a friend of mine, Claudio, Israeli guy, has lived in Pattaya for a long time, and he said that how locals really look at people that have lived there for years is also different than how they look at guys like you and I that just go to Thailand for a short time, which I really understand as well. I think locals are looking at, is this person really part of us and here for the long time? So that's really me more here in the Philippines. But I think that's going to make an impact on relationships and how people perceive us as well. So my buddy Danny is going to be arriving in Cebu January 10th. Looking forward to seeing you over here, Danny. Rogetto, welcome from Cebu as well. Good to see you here. I got my old buddy with a great haircut, Daryl, watching from California. So very good to see you, Daryl, one of my good friends over there. Well, what have I missed, Marco, about the difference of these two places? Anything that I've missed discussing difference? What about entertainment, perhaps? Things to do. What have you found in
Uh,
both places?
This is the great contrast of you and I, and both know this. You go to a karaoke bar, you go to anywhere where there's performance in the Philippines, and you might have somebody who's professional, who gets paid, they get up there, brilliant, they're wonderful. And then all of a sudden they'll say open mic, and then people jump up and
Yeah,
you can't tell the difference. I mean, people in the Philippines, the voices, the singing, the
yeah,
musicianship is
amazing.
unbelievable. Everybody. And
Yeah,
my taxi cab driver last night, yeah, I'm going on the Carnival cruise. I play bass, I play piano, it's just like music is just so embedded in their consciousness and what they do, and everybody does
yes,
it. And everybody, when karaoke comes out in the Philippines, everybody joins in, and you're expected to
totally.
join.
Yes,
And
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 no
so
inhibitions at all.
none,
Yeah,
none. Whereas Thailand, it definitely is a little more like the U.S. Is that here is the small, portion of the population that's talented. They do the thing, but no,
sure.
we don't all just jump up on stage, with
Yeah.
our brilliant voices and such. So
Yes. Yeah. I love that here too, because, Filipinos could have truly an amazing voice, or they could be like me and, birds drop from the sky when they sing, and they're both equally going to sing their hearts out, So I still have that, American inhibition where once the karaoke comes out, I just want to go hide under a, big rock somewhere. I wish I was more Filipino like that. But I think this is how Filipinos are childlike. I'm not saying childish, childlike, where there's just, kids, they don't care about their voice. And same with dancing, like they're going to
oh
sing,
yeah,
they're going to dance. And I love that about Filipinos. They're just going to sing or dance in public, anywhere. It doesn't matter if they're good, if they're bad. It's like kids, kids would never be like, you should not be dancing, or you got
right,
a terrible voice. Kids would never be like that.
right.
They would just do their thing, with just total innocence. And so I think that's something really beautiful about Filipino culture over here as well.
Yeah,
For
last
me, yeah, go
last
ahead.
night I was at Festival Mall here. It's the southern part of Manila. It's a huge mall. It's bigger than Ayala. It's just huge. It has a roller coaster amusement park, but in that amusement park there was a huge what do they call those where you're dancing with the music, and you're getting points for doing the dance right. And
Sure,
there
I know
was
what you mean.
yeah, there was two teenage boys, probably 13ish, 14ish. Now, in the United States, what 13? I mean,
Yeah,
we would never do anything to look foolish.
sure.
These two kids in front of God and country were just going crazy. And
Yeah.
I, just like you, I was like, oh, that is so wonderful to see that, that lack of inhibition, just jumping in and doing it, having a great time.
Yes, yes, yeah. I mean, in a lot of Western countries, you would have to be like drunk as crazy to do the things that people do here, because just the level of inhibition is just so completely different. I got to say, for me, in terms of entertainment, I felt like, especially in somewhere like Bangkok, there was never ending amount of things to do. I almost felt paralyzed with choice there.
Right.
Like, all right, we only got this much time. What are we gonna choose? And really, everything from the huge Buddhist temples to jet skiing to go karting to just restaurants, rooftop bars, nightlife, everything that you could think of. And in the Philippines, I don't find that really to the same extent. It doesn't feel to me like there's quite as much going on. Part of that might be living in Cebu. I think if I was in Manila, there'd be a bit more options. But that's one thing that I really would love to do, is just explore Thailand more and see more of the options of things to do out there.
I would agree. And maybe that comes from the quote government playbook on tourism. Whereas I feel like Thailand, and it's obviously been for many years now, really has said as a country, okay, tourism's going to be big for us. Here's how
Mhm.
we're gonna maximize that for our country, so that a tourist who has a choice of going to other countries or Thailand will choose Thailand.
Sure.
And I think I see that in their marketing. I just see a more cohesive message coming. And think about the end of the pandemic. Where was one of the first places to open up with that special pass? It was Phuket.
Sure. Sure.
They
Yes.
opened up. They said, "Hey, we're getting the ball rolling. Here's what how you can come in. Here's these 5 hotels you can stay at." And I didn't do it, but I was like, okay, they're already thinking, how can we get ahead of the curve and get those tourist dollars into our country versus into another country?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So at the end of the day, if somebody told you, listen, Marco, in 2023, you had to live, the full year in Thailand or full year in Philippines or full year in US, kind of, how do you think you would rank those 1 to 3? One being top choice.
Oh boy, you're going to get me in. Well, everybody knows that I'm not happy with my own country these days, and most of that maybe in the political arena and
Mm,
such, as I call it, the slow fall of the empire. So I don't want to live there at this point now. Maybe when I'm infirmed, I'm going to need to go back and take advantage of my social safety net to, carry me off into the great beyond. However, so when it comes here, it's all, yeah, and I think you and I are going to be the same because we are communicators with a capital C, and
hmm
that's
hmm
incredibly important to our daily lives. So for that fact alone, I'm going to choose the Philippines. Now, Thailand. I love you, Thailand. I love my new Thai friends, but that English piece, that would be the one piece I would say Thailand, in if you'd have to go back 30 or 40 years and look at the education system and such. And America and Philippines has a longer interesting relationship than does Thai in the US. So
Right.
there's that connection of why English is so prevalent here versus in Thailand. But that it comes down to that for me if I'm permanently somewhere.
Sure, sure. So number two, I'm guessing not the US.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'd be definitely Thailand. I am not going back to the US at this point. Knock on wood, if I'm healthy, I'm traveling, I'm doing my thing, trying to make the world a better place here. I made the world a better place in the United States for 40 years of my career. Just have incredible friends and some of my family, etc. But when it comes to making the world a better place, I feel like I can be more effective here
Mhm.
uh, and make a bigger difference in people's lives here than I can in the United States.
Sure, sure. I get it. I get it. My buddy Javier, what can I say as a Puerto Rican living in Florida? I have fallen in love with the Filipinos and their culture and customs. Yeah, I think both of us would say very much the same thing. And so this is the thing for me. I think if I had to rank, where am I going to live? 1, 2, 3, without a doubt, the U.S. would not just come third; it would probably come 333rd if there's that many countries. That I don't think there is. So I really don't want to live anywhere in the West. And so that's very deliberate, just exhaustion with Western culture. I love my country, but I'm very happy to live 7,000 miles away at this stage in my life. If I would have to pick number one or number two, my Irish buddy in uh, Thailand, he's lived on and off there for 13 years, and he's a young guy still. So he started traveling over there pretty young, but he told me that his litmus test is, if somebody would give you, I forget the number, $1 million a month to live anywhere you wanted in the world, where would you live? And I think that's a great litmus test because for me, money does come into it. So if I were to pick one or two right now, I really got to think about that side of it. I have, life and business here in the Philippines, and it takes a lot of my time. So, I got a while till I could even think about retirement. And so, I would definitely do business in the Philippines. I don't know that I would in Thailand. I think that would be incredibly difficult. I would definitely need some really trusted Thai people to be a part of that because of cultural and especially language barriers. And, some of those things are a challenge here as well. But I would have to be here in the Philippines really because this is where life and work and my businesses are. If that weren't a factor, would I still live in the Philippines for the next year? I don't know that I would. I'd probably give Thailand a shot for a year just to experience something different if I didn't have to think about the money piece of it. So I absolutely love and adore the Philippines and Filipinos, but I am a little bit adventurous and, would love to travel more of the world as well. So for practical reasons, I definitely am in the Philippines for the long term. At least that is my current thoughts on things. But if I had to pick a country to live for the next 5 years, I think I definitely would decide on the Philippines because I really know that I feel at home here. I know I really love Filipinos, and I think it's interesting for both of us that even though there's so many more things like travel or food or efficiency or quality of some things that are definitely preferable in Thailand. That's not really either one of our reasons for living,
Right.
choosing where we live. It's really about the people. It's really about being able to communicate and connect. And for that, I think the Philippines is just a clear winner, when you compare the two countries. If you could learn Thai, though, I
Right.
think that Thailand would really be an amazing place. I love how carefree the people are in Thailand as well. They just seem to really be enjoying life. At least the cities like Bangkok seem to be alive 24 hours a day, and I love that energy. Where things are just going and people are, spending time together, eating, drinking, shopping, whatever it is that they enjoy doing. Thailand just really has a great feel for that. So, not easy decisions, but really, I think both are just amazing, amazing, countries. So,
I
Javier,
have,
yeah,
oh,
go ahead, go ahead.
um, I have an illuminating question for you that might really shine some light on kind of this, what we were just talking about. It, okay, separate yourself from your business and those obligations. How many weeks a year would be ideal that you would be traveling to other places in the world?
Hmm, that's a good question. Uh, yeah, maybe 3 months.
Okay.
Maybe 3 months. Yeah.
And that would show a big difference because right now, as you talk about what's my, where's my home and stuff, my mind, I don't want a home base. I definitely, I'm fine being
Sure.
24/7, 365, pretty much on the road. Now I enjoyed kind of having a home base in Cebu for
Mhm.
those 4 months. But boy, I got restless. I can feel it that at least right now in my life, I am definitely a nomad, a vagabond.
Sure.
I want to be on the road experiencing different places, different people, which again, that's out of the norm. That's probably a very slim part of any population, including
Mhm.
the US, that most people, like to have that home base, whatever that is. And of course, if I do find my soulmate and she has no doubt a family base, then that's probably going to become, the home base operation for me as well, is what my prediction would be.
Sure, but if you wind up with someone that's not a bit of a nomad, that might be a challenge for you as well. So I'd be curious if you wind up with someone that is kind of similar to you, wants to travel a lot. I know Filipinos love to travel. I don't know about Thai, women if there's the same feeling, but I know in the Philippines, like, Grace, when we went to Thailand, she's like, I want to move here. I love it. Like she really enjoyed it, and I think she would happily, just kind of travel around the world for years to come. So for me, I'm always, I'm just at a stage where I still got to think about, work and business and
Right.
things like that. So that's a big part of my mindset. But I really want to get to a stage, where I could be a wandering, vagabond like yourself. So, for now, Javier has some advice. I need some pina colada or margarita, and it'll make me sing in the morning. Not bad, not bad advice. So, well, it'll be interesting to see your journeys here. You got a lot more flexibility than I do. Traveling, I do got to say, I'd be very interested if you were to be in Bangkok. Like, would you feel the need to keep traveling? There's so much to do there. I feel like if you were to be there for a year, you wouldn't even scratch the surface of just what you could experience and do in a place like Bangkok. It's just a huge, sprawling city with so much going on.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I definitely at this point preference is to shy away from the big cities like that.
Mm,
That's why I'm in Cebu versus Manila, right? As soon as I got to Manila 2 days ago, oh, I mean, the congestion, the traffic, the construct. Oh my gosh, I was a little in overwhelm, and I'm
sure.
starting to already feel myself, settle into my at least week here, but yeah, I definitely feel, just like having a little open space, a little bit slower,
Mhm.
version of life than the big city, is definitely, my go-to.
I understand. And I'm the opposite. Like, I really think I just love big cities right now. And Cebu isn't that big of a city, it's kind of
Right.
medium city. So in Bangkok, I think that's what makes me feel like if I could just have a year there, I really enjoy exploring that city. It was just, I love the energy there. I think cities are like people, they just have a personality and a vibe. And Bangkok's really great like that. Cebu and even Manila just
Have you
feel a
been
little.
have you been to Chiang
I
yeah,
haven't,
have you
no.
been to Chiang Mai or Chiang Rai?
No, not yet.
No.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be that, because then again, that's a whole different kind of aspect of Thailand as well. Chiang Mai being definitely a tourist place,
Hmm.
has some mountains around it, but great vibe and a big digital nomad community. Chiang
Hmm.
Rai has tourist things, but definitely lower key. And I love Chiang Rai, so
Sure, sure. And I'm kind of the opposite. If I see too many expats, it's not the place for me. So, I love living in very multicultural places, but not when there's a ton of Westerners. So I'd rather a multicultural place where,
yeah,
there's just people from different cultures other than one similar to my own. So, like when I was in Pattaya, Thailand, for example, great place, so much to offer, but I couldn't be there more than a week at a time. I don't think without just
yeah,
there's just so much foreigners. I
yeah,
feel like I'm back in the U.S., and just very different energy. In Bangkok, there is foreigners, but it feels more like Cebu, where there's a lot more locals and just more of a moderate amount of tourists and expats that are there as well. So.
right. No, I would agree. I would agree.
Yes, yes. Well, my friend, any final thoughts, questions, comments? Uh, I forced you to talk to me for long enough here. Anything
Well,
we've missed out on?
yeah, yes, I'll jump up on the soapbox and talk to the millions of our viewers.
Yes,
Uh,
but the internet is going to crash. There's so
it's going to
many.
crash right now, but this is why you've come, oh, cheering throng. Travel. I just can't emphasize how important travel is and what it does to the complete psyche. For me, it even has this physical thing that happens to me, and I lose weight. Tell me what that's all about. But the psyche piece of it, of experiencing different cultures and realizing we are on. Boy, I'm going big picture here. We're on one planet. We're humans, and you just realize that you're out of this cocoon. For you and me, we're out of this cocoon called the United States, which is so privileged and such that it's just a big world, and it's a wonderful place. And bottom line, humans all have some basic needs, and we're way more similar than we are different.
Absolutely. Appreciate your thoughts there. those of you that have been watching, thank you for taking the time. Marco, hope to see you very shortly when you head
Yeah.
over here to Cebu.
Woohoo! Yes. Yeah. Thanks so much, John. Thanks for all the work you do, making the world a better place, not only through your business, Purple Cow, Purple Cow,
Thanks for the
but
plug
also,
there.
but also what you're doing through the YouTube channel and just your interactions with people. You are a good person out there.
Thank you, sir. So, are you any YouTube channel? Anything you want to plug as well?
The Marco Explores is still kind of up and running, but as we've talked, I'm planning a whole new platform, and that just hasn't come to fruition yet. So we're all patiently waiting, especially me, for the universe to give guidance.
There you go. Good stuff. Well, we'll talk more about that when that comes about.
Yeah. Thanks, John.
All right, my friend. Take care.
All right. Bye bye.
See you, everybody.